Hello, everybody. We are live today with Ricardo from Reedsy. Hey, Ricardo, how are you?
Hey, Chrissy, I'm good, and you?
Doing great. Where are you in the world right now?
I'm in Madrid. I'm at home for once.
Awesome. And you have some kind of sports something happening over there right now?
Not as much as you do apparently, but we do have the Champions League final of soccer, or football. So that's happening this weekend, and I've got drunk English fans chanting in the streets already on a Thursday before the Saturday game. So it's going to be a fun weekend.
All right, so if we hear that, that explains it. Or it could be the drunk fans on our side, because as you can see by my fan shirt, the Raptors are entering game one of the NBA Finals for the first time tonight. So I couldn't not wear the shirt today, even though I knew I would be on screen with you. I apologize for nothing.
No, no, congratulations.
Thank you. But that's not why we are here. Obviously, we're here to talk about you and share information about Reedsy. So for anyone who, for some reason, hasn't heard of Reedsy, could you give us the story, how you guys started and where you're at today?
Yeah, sure. We started around 4 or 5 years ago now. Um, and I think that the idea hasn't changed since we started. It was really to create a safe place, a safe marketplace where authors could come and find really good editors, whatever their genre, really good proofreaders, cover designers, illustrators for children's books and graphic novels, ghostwriters, publicists, marketers, and we recently added website designers as well for the authors who want a nice looking author website.
Oh, cool.
So pretty much anyone you ever need to hire throughout kind of your publishing career. And yeah, we started with editing and design. We've built up all these other segments afterwards. So I think now we have over 1,500 freelance professionals on the marketplace. And I think the thing that makes Reedsy special is that we spend a lot of time making sure that they're good professionals. So we only accept around 3% of freelancers who apply to be listed on Reedsy, basically. So that's the core of what Reedsy does.
Yeah, I want to get into that actually. What is that selection process like? Can you speak to it for potentially people who are interested in being a service provider and then the authors who are looking for trusted sources?
Yeah, for sure. That's our little secret, really.
Oh, okay. Next question.
No, no. I mean, it's a very manual process. We basically get freelancers to fill in a profile. So similar to a LinkedIn profile, but aimed at really publishing. So you upload your portfolio. You basically provide all the retailer links to the books that you have worked on as an editor or as a designer, or as a marketer. So that populates your portfolio. You indicate your work experience. You highlight any projects you're proud of. And then we look at the profile. If information is missing, we ask you for more information. And when everything's there, we kind of make a decision. Okay, is this professional ready to be accepted on Reedsy? Are they good enough? Obviously, the decision depends on the type of service. For editing, we base our decision mostly on experience within traditional publishing before, or experience with big name indies, or the number of books in the portfolio. Also, whether they have a clear specialization in either developmental editing and editorial assessments, or more mechanic editing, so copy editing, proofreading. They're really two separate skills in our opinion. For cover design, well, we've got a design team that looks at actually the covers, the designs that they've done. For publicity and marketing, I actually have a chat with all the marketers we add to Reedsy to make sure that they know what indie marketing is about, because you could have worked for 50 years as a marketer in a traditional publishing company and have no idea how to help an indie author, because you're used to like buying billboard ads, or like arranging publicity, or talking to bookstores, which isn't necessarily relevant to indie authors.
Right.
So it's very manual process. Depends a lot on the segment, and it's still 100% human curation.
Awesome. So that kind of answers it from the service provider perspective. If they're trying to get in the door, come with good experience, basically, and be prepared to be evaluated for your expertise. And then from indie authors, so basically they know that they can trust you because of that manual process. Is there also rating, or do you go back and continually evaluate service providers who are on Reedsy?
Yeah, both. So first, we've got an algorithm ranking freelancers on Reedsy because, I mean, the publishing industry, it's all about algorithms, so we had to have our own algorithm.
Mm.
And we have reviews. So reviews play a role as well in that algorithm. Most of the reviews you're going to see on Reedsy are 5-star. It's a bit like Uber's, it's 4 or 5 stars. Because if we see that, I think it's happened only twice or 3 times. If we see a professional consistently having issues with authors, then we're going to take them off Reedsy. So we do keep monitoring.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that builds trust. And also we act as a third-party mediator or guarantor in case anything goes wrong. So if you reach an impasse with an editor or designer, you can reach out to us. We'll look into the collaboration. We might even enlist the help of a third-party editor to kind of assess the work of the initial editor.
Cool.
And provide a refund if the refund's to be provided, or at least, help mediate the whole thing.
That's awesome. So there's definitely that layer of trust and manual curation happening on an ongoing basis. And then in terms of adding also that layer of convenience, is there, do you help with the contracts in terms of payment and the in-between of an author looking for a service provider?
Yeah, absolutely. So the contracts are built in our terms of service. So you're all automatically, even if you don't know anything about contracts, you're automatically protected.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, we have the usual standard terms for editing and design. If you're hiring a ghostwriter, for example, then you probably want special terms, especially around IP, and if the ghostwriter can actually disclose it in their portfolio and things like that. So same goes for illustrators. So for kind of special project like that, usually the freelancers will attach their special terms to the collaboration, which are in addition to our usual terms. So you've got basically, we cover the basics, and then for complicated cases, our freelancers cover the advanced stuff.
Yeah.
And payments are automated through the platform. So when you accept an offer from a freelancer, you can negotiate it. You can ask them for like a separate payment, a different payment plan.
Nice.
And payments are automated on the dates that you agreed on, and for the amounts that you agreed on with the freelancer.
Great. And I wanted to take a quick pause to just say I'm kicking off with a round of questions that I have that I want to get in front of Ricardo, but we've got live comments going. So hi to Peter for joining us, and thanks for everyone who's taking time out of their lunch break or dinner break to be here, and ask questions if you have them. I'll grab them from the comment box as we go. Otherwise, I'll keep going with the ones that I've always been dying to ask you, Ricardo.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to briefly touch on your latest launch, which was Reedsy Discovery. What exactly is that, and what do authors need to know to get started?
Yeah, it's something we've been thinking about for a few years. Basically, we've got marketers on Reedsy, and we've got a bunch of marketing resources, but we're still seeing discoverability as a number one issue for authors, or the number one thing we get questions about. So we wanted to build a tool and kind of contribute to trying to solve that problem. So Reedsy Discovery is basically a platform that helps readers discover indie books. And there's an element of curation in the middle, and that element is provided by independent reviewers. So you, as an author, you submit your book to Reedsy Discovery. It costs $50 one-time fee.
Yeah.
And that book's made available to a bunch of reviewers, to a pool of reviewers. So reviewers are obviously notified when a new book comes in, and they can decide to pick up a book for review. So if one reviewer selects your book, they commit to reviewing it by the time your book launches. And your book then gets taken off the review pool. So something important to understand about Discover, that's not an ARC service, an advanced review copy service where you're going to get a bunch of reviews. You're just going to get one review, which is not guaranteed, but in any case, you're not going to get more than one. And what we do with that review is we use those reviews by independent reviewers to curate the books when we showcase them on their launch. So if your book's launching 1 month from now, you can submit it now to Discovery. A reviewer picks it up for review, reviews it in a week or two. You receive the review in advance, so you know if it's a good one or if it's a bad one, a negative one. If it's a negative one, we're just not going to make a lot of noise around your book launch so that you're not affected by it. If it's a good one, then we're going to showcase that review prominently on our Discover feed on the day of the launch. And then it's going to compete for upvotes with the other books launching that day to a reader community. So yeah, there's an element of curation from independent reviewers. There's an element of curation from readers with upvotes. So it mixes a few things. And then the top books make it to our weekly newsletter to readers, which, I mean, it's not huge. We've got around 20,000 readers right now, but it's growing very fast. The service is 1 month, 2 months old.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're already seeing over 50 to 100,000 monthly users, monthly readers on our website. So it's definitely encouraging right now.
Awesome. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure we touch on that as your latest release. And obviously discoverability is the number one question on authors' minds. It always has been, but I feel like increasingly as the cost to compete gets higher and higher, authors need new ways to get in front of readers. And I think this is a really cool way to reach the right readers and a growing new user-based pool that's not necessarily as competitive as, say, BookBub to get your book in front of.
For sure.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about SEO because I know you have a ninja of the net on your team who's done some hard work to get Reedsy's SEO up to speed, and that's really improved things for you and your team. Can you just walk through authors listening who don't really know much about SEO and what they can do, like any learnings you can draw from the Reedsy side of things?
Yeah, sure. It might be my presentation for Ning this year, actually.
So this is a practice run?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to try to share some tidbits.
Okay.
So SEO is search engine optimization. And I think what's important to understand is when we talk about SEO, most of the time we're talking about Google. Basically how to make sure that when someone searches something relevant to your product on Google, they come across you in one way or another. You show up in the top results. But something that's really relevant for authors as well is to understand that there are a lot of different search engines. So Google's the number one. The number two right now, I think, is Amazon, or it might be YouTube, but it's around there. Third one might be Yahoo or Bing. But as you see, like number one is what we consider a traditional search engine. The number two, if we say it's YouTube, it's a video platform. And the number three, if it's Amazon, it's a retailer. So what you got to think is every kind of place on the internet is almost a search engine nowadays. Kobo is a search engine as well, as most retailers as well out there. And so the problematic for pretty much anyone trying to sell something and authors trying to sell books is how do I make sure that customers looking for something that I can potentially provide come across me. So in terms of, to give an example, if you've written a paranormal romance, a vampire romance, and you want to make sure, you want to try that at least at some point when people on Kobo search for vampire romances, that your book shows up. So the listing of books in the search results varies obviously from one search engine to the other. And I'd say that Google is the most advanced search engine because it's the one that involves the most artificial intelligence. Other search engines, I mean, Bing is pretty good as well. YouTube is very different. Amazon is pretty bad. And I'd say that Kobo has a mix of human curation and algorithmic curation. So that's what kind of one of the things that makes Kobo special. So every search engine kind of has its own way of displaying results and organizing results. And it's important to understand kind of every search engine where you might be leveraging to sell products. So for us at Reedsy, we rely a lot on Google SEO. So early on, we had a blog, and I think after 1 or 2 years of having a blog, we had a revelation. We're thinking, okay, we write every day on this blog, but every week on this blog, but no one that isn't already a fan of Reedsy really reads it, because how are you going to find our blog? So then we started thinking about SEO, and we started publishing a few blog posts that we thought answered a query that a lot of people had every month on Google. So if you do topic or keyword research, which we did at that time, you find out that a lot of people every month search for the cost of self-publishing or search for writing contests. And we started writing posts around those subjects, and they got ranked pretty high on Google. And that's how we started getting a lot of traffic from Google to our blog. And that's how our blog has grown ever since, really. And I think I'm frozen, or Chris is frozen. It's hard to know. I'm just messaging Chrissy to see who's. You can still hear me, or if the problem, you're back? So can you hear me, Chrissy? Oh, this is weird. Hey, Chrissy.
Sorry if you can hear me. You're just having a little Wi-Fi connection issue, but I'm going to try to refresh here.
I can hear you now.
Hey, can you hear me?
Okay. Can you hear me now, Chrissy? Or do I need to refresh?
Ricardo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Are we back? Oh God, what's happening? Okay, you can hear both now apparently, but I can't hear Chrissy. That's going to be a problem. Wow. Okay, let me refresh this again. Hello? Nope. So I can't hear you, but maybe people can still hear me. And let me just do so both of us are cutting in and out. So I suppose it's an issue of the software we're using. Yeah. All right.
Hey, can you hear me?
Ah, yes, we're back.
Woo!
Easy.
Like a little technical difficulties to shake up a live interview.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's carry on. Sorry about that. I don't know if that was a Be Live thing or an internet connection on my side.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. I know my computer is like suffering right now, but I don't know why.
All right, so let's pick it up. We were in the middle of SEO. You were talking about doing some really smart things to research what people are searching for and write content to deliver to those search search queries, basically.
Exactly.
And thank you to Peter for congratulating us on being found again. Thanks for staying with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. So yeah, I think I'm going to try to offer some more actionable advice, but from our experience, the logic was first we want to know what people are searching for in our niche. So there's a lot of, actually it can be around writing crafts, it can be around publishing, it can be around marketing. And then how can we produce content that's just going to rank well for these queries? And I think you can in some way replicate that as an author by looking at current trends in the market. So what people are searching for, what people are reading. So there's a few tools out there to do that. There's the K-Lytics reports that tell you about new niches and trends. There's KDP Rocket that tells you, that's a software that helps you find out new keywords and categories to target on Amazon. So it's Amazon-centered, but you can kind of apply it to, I think, the whole kind of book industry. There's a few tools like that. So they help you identify trends, and then you can try to write to those trends, or at least optimize maybe your titles or your metadata to make sure that you show up in relevant searches on retailers. If you're writing nonfiction, then there's retailer SEO, and there's also Google SEO, because if you're writing about, I don't know, kind of yoga poses, for example, you can try to rank for that keyword on Google using your book or using your blog. Generally, your blog will work better, and leverage that to then sell the book. So yeah, I think it's a question of thinking where do readers find books like mine? Is it by Googling? Is it by going to the retailers directly and searching in there? And then how to optimize your book so that it shows up when they do those searches.
Right. Awesome. Good advice. And as with many online marketing, thought processes specific to you and your books.
Yeah.
And what impact have you seen it have for Reedsy, for example? What can really strong SEO have on a website?
I think SEO brings traffic. Good SEO. So our blog in 3 years went from maybe 1,000 monthly users or 2,000 monthly users to close to 6,000 or 600,000 or 700,000 now. So it's a pretty big jump, really. Some of that traffic, like we've got a character name generator, for example. So we might get a lot of people just wanting to play with it, or students who are writing, a short story as an assignment, and they want our character name, so they're using it for that. So it's not people who are going to reuse Reedsy. So a lot of that traffic might not be relevant. But then once you have the traffic, the goal, and this again, we can draw a parallel to authors, the goal is to make sure that the relevant traffic you get, you convert it into in author readers. And so that's the job of if readers find you on retailers, the job of your cover, the job of your blurb, the job of your reviews, and all these things. If they find you through your website, through your blog, through Google search, then it's a job of making sure that you highlight your book or your books on your blog and website, that you maybe have an exit pop-up saying, get my free book. And then your free book obviously leads to your paid books. So things like that. It's about, traffic, and SEO is a great way to get traffic. And then converting the relevant portion of that traffic into customers or readers.
Yeah, and making sure that funnel is working for you when you get those people in the door so that they're ready to take action. Exactly. All right, well, if anyone has more specific SEO questions, feel free to pop them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them. So you also talk a lot about marketing in your Reedsy blog posts, and marketing is a really hot topic always, but I feel like in the last year or two, it's become increasingly important for authors to think about their marketing plan and their budget. And there's kind of this idea that you can't really even get started as an indie author today without some kind of marketing plan and budget, versus before there was this idea that you could maybe launch and get success, which I'm not sure I really believe that. But can you talk a bit about the marketing landscape today from your perspective, and what an author who, let's give a hypothetical scenario, they're cruising along at steady sales but want to take things to the next level, some actions they might take?
Yeah, sure. I think the landscape's basically become more competitive as more and more books get published. It's not only that there are more and more books out there, it's that the rate of new books being published is increasing every year. So not to sound pessimistic, but it does make the market more competitive.
Yep.
On the bright side, a lot of these books being published aren't professional at all. So if you've got your basics covered, a great cover, well edited, good books, good stories, then you're ahead of 90% of other authors out there, which still leaves a pretty big 10% number. So I think there's a lot of talk right now in the author community around having to pay to play. So basically having to run ads. That free visibility is almost gone if you don't pay directly through kind of ad platforms owned by the retailers, or if you use other ad platforms like Facebook or BookBub to drive traffic to the retailers, you're not going to get any visibility. I still know a lot of authors who don't do that, don't do ads that much or that well, for that matter, and still get a lot of visibility. And I think that's generally people who have found other strategies. These strategies can involve these strategies, to be honest, in fiction, most of the time they involved releasing a lot of books in a niche in a very fast way. Mm-hmm. So it's the whole rapid release thing where you write 3 books in a new series without even publishing them. You publish them like 1 month apart, and then you keep writing in the hopes of like always having a book out, and kind of flooding your niche as soon as you get into it. Yeah. So that's something I've seen work for a lot of authors across all retailers, and I've seen also a few authors getting burnt out by doing that. But it's true that we're getting to this point where you really need a strategy. Your strategy might be mastering Facebook ads or mastering BookBub ads, or using a combination of both pretty well. It might be not using ads, but finding a way to really work the algorithms of the different retailers, which is getting harder and harder, and is leading people to publish 1 book a month, which is a bit unsustainable for most people, for most authors. Or you got to find new creative ways. Right now, I'm working with a nonfiction author, and most of his traffic comes from SEO. Obviously, it's nonfiction, so he knows what keywords people are going to search for on the retailers. He makes sure that his books are well positioned in terms of metadata to show up for those keywords. And he does the same for Google SEO. His retailer pages actually show up pretty high in Google results. And now we're working to create a blog and a website for him so that he can rank with his blog and website for those keywords. Cool. So I think if you're in nonfiction, there's a lot you can do in terms of SEO. Yeah. That's, as I said, it's another strategy, another marketing strategy to bring visibility to your books through an external source, which in this case would be kind of Google searches. But I do think that nowadays, through an internal or external source, you have to bring visibility yourself to your books. You're not going to get it magically. Right.
Okay, so The other thing I wanted to ask, just getting back to Reedsy's for those who want to learn more about it, is there a feature or an element of Reedsy that we haven't touched on that people may not know about?
Yeah, I think we do have a formatting tool that probably not enough people are using, if I may say so.
It's awesome, actually. So I think you're right. That's a good one.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a free. We call it the Reedsy Book Editor. It's basically a writing tool that doubles as a formatting tool. So you can write your book in there. It's a very clean writing interface. If you don't like it, if you prefer sticking to Word or Scrivener, you can import your book as a Word document once it's written in there. And then you can just use it to export to EPUB, Mobi, or print-ready PDF. So it's 100% free. It's a little bit similar to Vellum in how it works, except we have a lot less customization possibilities than Vellum.
Yeah.
So we only have 3 templates. We don't have the possibility of adding and customizing the little shapy things you put in the corners to make your romance book look cool. But we also don't think that readers care that much about that. I think it's authors who really get super stoked about those features more than readers, which I understand. They're cool features. But if you haven't paid for Vellum, if you haven't bought a Mac to use Vellum, then I'd consider giving the Reedsy Book Editor a try first, see if it meets your needs. And if it doesn't, well, then buy a Mac and buy Vellum.
Awesome. And Simon Collinson seconds you. He says the formatting tool is very impressive from a production.
Thank you so much, Simon.
Yeah, and I would agree. And yeah, there's this question of, especially if you're on the earlier side, but even if not, every dollar counts. Every dollar you spend is a dollar you have to make back. And in ebooks, those margins are small. So if you can save the money on a piece of software and use a free tool that's available instead, I'd say absolutely explore it and see if it fits your needs before you spend that budget.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to actually talk to you about was Reedsy Learning, which is another kind of newer feature. You guys are rolling out a lot.
Yeah, Reedsy Learning is 2 years old now, I think, but we keep adding to it. So it's our roster of free courses on all aspects of writing, publishing, marketing, distributing a book. So I think we've got close to 50 courses now. Yeah, I think we released the 50th one recently. We've got really one-on-one stuff like how to write a novel, how to write nonfiction, marketing one-on-one. And then we've got more advanced stuff, both on the craft side, like how to write YA or how to write compelling dialogue, the 3-act structure. On the marketing side, we recently added a really cool course on BookBub ads by David Gogren.
I saw that.
Reference exactly on BookBub ads. So again, if you haven't bought his book yet, you can take the course first. And then if you really like the course and want more info, you can buy his book. So for us, they're great because they're a way to build partnerships with other people and other companies who can provide content to Reedsy authors for free. And then obviously that content is going to lead to our authors finding out about David Gogren and his blog and his books. So we think it's a win-win for everyone. And Reedsy is really a self-serve platform. Like we try to guide authors as much as possible through content and through our platform. But in the end, if you need a developmental editor, you're going to come to Reedsy and hire a developmental editor. We're not going to sell a whole package that takes you from I've got this Word document to putting your book on all the retailers. So you need to know how the self-publishing process works. And for us, the Reedsy Learning courses are a way to provide education for free so that you can learn how to be successful in the author and then make the most of all the paid resources we have.
Yeah, I love it. And I think there's so much information out there. If you join any of the Facebook groups that are going, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of comments from experts, which are all valuable, but it's the time black hole to get into all the information that's now free and available. I think you offer the same kind of vetting for the Learning Center that you do for the services, insofar as that these are experts. You pick the top people and they're giving free content. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Marina wants to know any specific courses that Ricardo feels deserve more attention. I like the way she phrased that. Who deserves attention?
Well, I mean, the book of ads course is really great, but does David really deserve even more attention than he's got currently? I'm not sure. No, it's a great course.
Yeah.
I've written great courses on mailing lists and Facebook ads as part of the marketing, and I definitely my courses deserve more attention for sure.
Oh, okay.
So I'll highlight those. In terms of distribution, we've got a really great course from Mark Lefebvre. Some of you might know him.
Never heard of him.
On Kobo hacks. Never heard of him, right?
No.
Yeah.
Never worked with him.
So he's written a great course on Kobo hacks for optimizing sales. So it's the same idea. He's got a great book on Kobo tips, whose title I can't remember, but
Killing It on Kobo.
That's the one.
Yep.
So same as David Goggin, he provides a course for free on Reedsy. That's kind of not a summary, but that has a lot of tidbits from his book. And if you like it, you can buy his book as well. So that's another course that definitely deserves attention.
Yeah, and that book is for sale on Kobo. Soft pitch there. Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's basically like you could give yourself a mini conference just using these courses. So cool. Great shout outs across the board for all of those. And I wanted to get a little bit broader than that. Is there anything, in this indie community, things are always kind of popping up and changing. What's the big thing in the industry, let's say in the last year, that surprised you or kind of made you excited again about this whole self-publishing wave that we're at? Whoever knows what point of self-publishing we're at right
now. What's got me excited? I think I'm less excited about audio than most people are.
Contrarian. Tell me more. Okay, what makes you say less? I want to know.
It's just that there's a lot of audio hype, and audio is still a fraction of ebook and print.
Sure.
But it's a very fast-growing fraction, and also it's not yet completely dominated by Amazon, which is great. So it's a great opportunity for Kobo, for findable voices, for companies to kind of for Storytel in Europe. Storytel has been growing super, super quickly in our markets. So it's kind of a new territory where everyone's aware that Amazon's going to try to go after it, but it's not done yet. So it's a more level playing field for everyone. So I've got high hopes on that end of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it has been growing really quick, and I'm really excited about audio. But it's true that there's a lot of hype around it out there. That's what I'm writing right now, a Reedsy marketing newsletter on audiobook marketing tips. So I am excited about audio. And other than that, I think overall what I really like about the industry is that it's still as supportive as it was 5-6 years ago when it had just started, despite the fact it's become a lot more competitive, despite the growing tensions, because you're going to have growing tensions when the indie community grows this big. It's still very, very supportive, even if it has fragmented into groups. So you don't have like one place like before, like keyboards, where everyone went to and got information. You've got smaller forums that are a lot more curated, but it's just a matter if you're starting out or if you want to take the next level. It's just a matter of finding one of these groups. Usually conferences are a great way of doing that. And once you're in one of these groups, everyone shares information. There's a lot of help among authors in certain genres. And if you manage to create a group of like 5-10 authors in your niche, whether it's vampire romance or paranormal cozies or post-epoch fiction, and you manage to kind of band together with 5-10 authors, you can do a lot of things marketing-wise, cross-promo, share your audiences, reviews, do bundles, and that opens up a whole lot of marketing opportunities. And the thing is, most of the bigger successes nowadays are silent successes. You're not going to have Hugh Howies and Bella Andres just shouting to the rooftops, hey, self-publishing is great. Everyone knows that self-publishing is great nowadays. So the people making serious money in self-publishing, they're not going to be shouting.
Yeah.
They're going to be silent unless you manage to get their attention or join their groups or whatever. They still give out a lot of information, but to friends. So
Yeah.
I think conferences are great. If I had to give one real tip around that actionable one, sign up for a conference, go to a conference, you're going to meet people, you're going to make friends, and friends are probably the most powerful thing you can get in this industry.
I think that's a really, really excellent key takeaway, and it ties into your whole concept of community that Reedsy is built upon, of a trusted community of knowledgeable insiders delivering value to each other. I completely agree. What really still inspires me about the independent publishing community in general, and that even the super, super top performing people are still using their community and learning from each other. There's no moment where you start here and you're asking for something and, begging a favor. It's this continual circle of people helping each other, if that makes sense in my roundabout.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we were together at the Sell More Book Show Summit in Chicago as an example of a really great conference. It will be in Nashville next year. But I think Jim at the very beginning talked at that conference and said that everybody starts somewhere. And I think as authors, a lot of people are introverted. It's this solo endeavor. It feels like it when you're writing alone. And then there comes a moment where you have to put your work out there if that's your goal. So it can be intimidating to put your hand up and get into a group of people, especially ones that you see as successful in your genre. So yeah, I would say absolutely challenge yourself to do that, even if it's just connecting with one person.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So on the other negative side, Tara is asking, what are the most common mistakes that new authors make? And let's spin it positive and say, how can they avoid them?
I'd say be patient, to spin it positively. A lot of new authors are going to write this book. They're going to be super excited about it. It's going to be their first book, and they're just going to want to put it out there as fast as possible, not thinking about book two. And not thinking about marketing either, and thinking, okay, we'll see how it sells. If it sells well, I might throw in some money in marketing, reinvest my earnings into marketing, and then if I win back on my earnings and make some more money, then I'll start working on book two. And you might, in very rare cases, get away with that, but in most cases, as we said before, that first book's not going to sell if you don't have a strategy behind it, a marketing plan. So it might involve buying ads and spending money before you make it back. It might involve writing 3 books and publishing them in rapid release without investing too much in ads. But it's definitely going to involve more than writing 1 book and putting it out there. So be patient. Don't be afraid to plan a series, to plan several books, to write a free reader magnet that you put on BookFunnel, one of the previous KWL Takeover guests, and to learn about the industry. I think most of the recent successes I've seen in indie publishing have come from authors who went to conferences before they put out their first book.
Yeah.
They did a couple of conferences and they stayed in touch with, they were writing probably their first book while they went to the conference. And then they stayed in touch with people at the conference. They joined these kind of closed groups of insider advice. They followed the advice. They planned their launch. And a year after that or 2 years after that, they were actually speaking at the conference. So don't rush it. Be patient. Be committed, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does take more than just putting a book out there.
Yeah. I think that's really awesome advice. And I totally agree with you. A lot of the authors. And then it's get their success starting at a conference. And then it's super exciting when they come back the next year and said, like, you know, I took what I learned here back home. I set this marketing and business plan. I stuck to it. And 1 year later, I made X. And they'll be super open about their results and everything that they put into it. So I think that's a really good point. Marina has an excellent question, and this is the eternal debate. Thoughts on going wide? This came to mind when you mentioned being patient.
Yeah, being wide is a patient game. It's a consistent game. I think it's on going wide. I think you should be wide. I think you should be at least a wide hybrid, let's say. So if someone's like really needs the KDP Select promotional tools to make money or is very reliant on Kindle Unlimited income, then it might make sense to take a series, put it wide, and start there. So you don't lose all your KU income at once. You lose some of it, but then you try to build a presence wide. And I've seen several authors try to do that in the past year, and when they failed, the reason why they failed and gone back to Kindle Unlimited is that they didn't really give it a proper shot.
Yeah.
They were impatient, and they also didn't focus. They thought they made the mistake that most first indie authors do. They thought, hey, I'm going to put a book on Kobo and on Apple, and we're going to see if it sells. And it's not going to magically sell. Like, maybe they put a lot of work into working the KU algorithms, and they're experienced at that, and they know what works there. So obviously, they're going to spend most of their time there. But if they don't put in an equal amount of time working the Kobo algorithms or getting the Kobo manual curation to work for them, the Kobo promos, if they don't drive ads to the Kobo page, then the book's not going to magically sell, especially if they don't already have a presence on Kobo.
Right.
So yeah, it's that difficulty in those cases of kind of having to start over and getting that mindset of, okay, I'm actually starting over as a new author, wide, so I got to give it the time. And if it took me 3-4 years to build a presence on Amazon, it's probably going to take me 3. Okay, are we back? Are we back? No, you can hear me? Can you see me?
All right, we did it again. Guys, thank you for your patience today. BeLive has not been kind to us, but Ricardo, you're a miracle worker as always. So we missed one question from Peter, who wanted to ask Ricardo, what do you think is your next growth market? And I think he's asking as Reedsy, where do you think you're hoping to grow next?
I think we've got enough. We've got enough products out there. We have to grow those. We're putting a lot of focus on discovery, Reedsy Discovery. I'm building our reader base and our reviewer base. that's where most of our current focus is in terms of marketing. And we're also working a lot on the Reedsy book editor to make it a tool that has all the features built in. So track changes, commenting, and that
Nice.
that author can just use from start to finish. You write your book in there, you hire a Reedsy editor, you bring them in, they work directly in there. Then you bring a copy editor, they can see what the previous editor's done. There's versions, there's a timeline. So hopefully we should have that in the coming months, and then everything will be integrated, and we'll be very happy about that. So these are the two main focuses right now.
I love that. And I do think you get to a point where, you could just keep adding more and more and more and more products. But at some point, it helps to just focus on improving the ones that you have and making sure they're serving your audience for what they need. And I think Peter signed off at some point, Peter Kingsmill. So thank you so much for the compliment there. And Ricardo Peter's qualifying his question. He's wondering where geographically you expect growth to happen. Do you really focus on that in terms of Reedsy, where your users are based and where you're hoping to grow your community?
No, because our user base consistent with the world repartition of like English speakers. So probably 75% of people in the US, then second biggest country is UK, then Australia, New Zealand, South Africa.
Yeah.
And then a lot of American expats all throughout Europe, and especially in the Latin countries. So we don't really think in terms of geographical areas. I think of them sometimes for conferences, like we want to do more conferences in Europe because there aren't a lot of those. So we're trying to actually help co-create or co-organize a conference in Europe for 2020.
Nice.
I've never been to conferences in Australia or New Zealand, so I'd love to go at some point. But aside from me having a physical presence and visiting new countries, we don't think about geo markets that much.
Interesting. Well, it's the opposite of us as Kobo. We're super focused on global growth and geo reach. So it's an interesting contrast there. All right, we've got 8 minutes left. I wanted to flag that. So anyone with pending questions left for Ricardo, please feel free to throw them in the comments. But I did want to get back to what you were talking about right before I got cut off. I'm sorry, I don't know where you were able to end up on, on your talk about going wide and the errors that do happen there. And I totally wanted to support what you were saying, which is that to treat your distribution as a business decision and have a really strong plan with goals attached to it and to measure that plan as you go. That's exactly the same mistake that we see if authors are coming to us. They kind of leave their books there, never reach out. They don't try the promotions tool. They're not adding Kobo links across social, not really spreading the word that they're wide. It can be a marketing tool for you to use in your arsenal. So you should absolutely use that tool and connect with other authors who are wide in your genre and, mirror on their success and try what they're doing for yourself. And Simon says, I hope you get a chance to visit Australia. And I do too. I got to go there last year for the first time with RWA, and it was awesome. Are you going to go this time or maybe next year?
I haven't been invited yet, so I'm working on it. But I'm a bit afraid of the bugs, but that's okay. There are some deadly bugs there, but none of them touch me. Simon, I believe, is from Australia. I know that he is because he works here. So thanks, Simon, for the Kobo support. And he recommended I go to Kangaroo Island, which was awesome. It was truly one of the best places I've ever visited. Kangaroos everywhere. All right, so with 5 minutes left, is there anything else that's top of mind that you would like authors to know either about Reedsy or about taking their publishing to the next level? That's a tough one. About Reedsy, the only thing we haven't touched on is that we do Facebook Lives as well, that we affectionately call Reedsy Lives. It's very, very original.
You said it. I didn't.
But I gotta have a brand, Reedsy Discovery, Reedsy Learning, Reedsy Live. It's just so people remember that we're called Reedsy,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we do them mostly bi-weekly, so every other week. And we try to bring in someone either from our marketplace, so an editor or a designer, or someone who's written a Reedsy Learning course. So we've had David Gogran, we've had Mark Lefebvre as well, talking about Kobo hacks. And yeah, watch out for those. Just follow the Reedsy, like the Reedsy page on Facebook, and you'll get notifications when we go live. So that's the last Reedsy thing I think we didn't touch on.
Okay.
Other than that, we've touched on the whole Reedsy ecosystem.
I love it. All right. And you mentioned conferences. Can you call out a few that you might be at next if people are aiming to be there so that they can meet you in person and ask any other questions they might have?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to be at NINC, Novelist Inc. Conference, September 20, Books Vegas in November. I might go to the San Francisco Writers Conference. I think it's in January or February, but it's still not sure. And I'll be a really cool one if you're in Europe. We're co-organizing the Indie Uncon Europe in June next year. So just search on Facebook for Indie Uncon Europe or Indie Unconference Europe and join the group so that you get updates on when it's going to be, probably first week of June, how to register and things like that. It's going to be a very cool unconference.
Awesome. And that's a growing trend, the Uncon or these pre-cons, think tank kind of one-day focus groups. So I think that's cool that you're doing that for Europe, which is really catching up to North American indie trends in ways that it hasn't, in a lot of ways it already has, but I think there's still a huge appetite to learn more. So it's great that you're doing that. Okay, so to summarize, we talked about the platform in general, how you connect trusted service providers with authors, and what that community looks like today. We talked about SEO and how what you used at Reedsy can be applied to authors trying to grow the impact of search results to do their work for them on the content funnel side. We talked about Reedsy Learning and all of the free courses that are also vetted by your community there to put free info in the hands of users. And marketing today, we talked about wide versus exclusive. I feel like we really covered it all. And then also the latest Reedsy discovery. So thank you for getting so much information into 1 hour, even though we had some ins and outs of connectivity there. It was really, really great to chat with you, Ricardo.
No, it was really, really great to chat with you, especially with that shirt on.
I know. Yeah. Well, thank you. Bringing it back. I couldn't stop this without saying go Raptors.
There you go. I wanted to hear you one last time.
All right. Thank you, Ricardo. And thank you so much to everyone who tuned in today. And if you have any more questions, leave them in the comments and we can always comment after. And we will see you next time for the next KWL takeover.
Awesome. Thank you, Chrissy. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ricardo.